Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. I'm your host, Rudra Loka, and join me this week as we talk about Trump tariff rebates, the government reopening after a record 43 days, and some Chinese innovation, as well as some updates on interstellar object 3I-Atlas /Atlas. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the $220 billion in tariff revenue that have been accumulated by Trump's government. And so essentially he's trying to use that money to dole out $2,000 stimulus checks at a cost of about $326 billion. Now, even with an income threshold of $100,000, far from the highest income tax bracket, around 150 million adults would qualify. Now, there aren't any real requirements outlined yet for how to qualify for these checks, but remain at ease considering that even if they do come through, the stimulus checks last time took about 20 weeks to get delivered. So that's about like 5 months away, if approved. Is that a good idea? Yeah, I mean, it signals to the American population that tariffs are working. If the president thinks that we can dole out some of the excess that we've gained, if there's a surplus in tariff revenue that the government doesn't need, that they can redistribute it to the population, I think that would be good for our country as a whole. Not to mention that he says, I mean, he seems to be at odds with the numbers that the rest of the economists and people from the federal tax department have, because he seems to imply that there are enough money to, even after issuing these stimulus checks for $2,000 a pop for 150 million people, that we'll still have some money left over to pay down the debt, which again, I think he's got the right mindset. He's got the initiative. There haven't been a lot of presidents who've tackled on our growing, I think it's like $40 trillion national debt at this point. So it's good to, if any money is available in our government, to put that towards decreasing that amount would be highly supported by people around the country, I would think. So that's good news, potentially. There was some guy who was like on social media who was like, the first thing that he's going to buy with his $2,000 is some pussy. And given the circumstances and the economy now these days, these are trying times. We've just, we've dealt with the egg flu, the bird flu, which led to eggs rising to $7 for a carton. And so this is something to look forward to, and definitely brings us hope as a population, as not as a population, but as a population of America. Who couldn't use the extra money? I mean, seriously. The next thing is the government is finally open after Trump signs the Republican bill. It's estimated that throughout the course of the government shutting down, an estimated 750,000 federal workers were furloughed or sent home without pay, according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's really something. I mean, these people have bills to pay on a weekly basis. 40 days is close to a month without getting a paycheck, month and a third of another month. So they haven't been getting paid for a long time. And so finally they'll start receiving back pay. Thousands of essential workers, including police, FBI, and air traffic controllers, were forced to work without pay. And now that the government is finally open again, those furloughed workers will finally receive back pay. And that's good news to every American, noting that, federal employees are finally getting their pay. The next issue would be SNAP, of course. This is the country's largest anti-hunger program, serving 1 in 8 U.S. residents who live at or just above the poverty line. So in late October, the U.S. Department of Agriculture posted on its website that it would not pay the full $8 billion of SNAP benefits due for November. The message blamed Democrats for the shutdown and the consequent suspension of payments. SNAP funding will resume immediately, but panic anxiety are setting in. What if they take it away for good? So there's a lot of people, just chiming in about where we are as a nation in terms of our budget, and will that trickle down, and the economy being bad, will that trickle down to the poorest who won't have food to put on their table? And that's definitely sad news. But the good news is that the SNAP funding will resume immediately, and it will carry over to, I believe, January of 2026. So we'll be covered for December and January until they need to pass a new bill to fund further. But that's progress nonetheless, so we should be excited for that. And thank God for finally the government shutdown ending. I mean, what were these people doing? It was an extended vacation. I'm sure a lot of people are displeased with our government. And this just signals to me the kind of problems that we have in our government. It's not a perfect constitution. It's not a perfect democracy. And we're still working through it. And this is just another example of that. So, one more thing about the government reopening. The bill, there's a catch to it. So the bill actually includes a ban on many THC-infused products. And this is bad news for a host of people who are getting into the THC-infused product business, especially the drinks business. People are drinking pot a lot now. That's become very common. And so there are a lot of companies creating these seltzers and beers and all of these THC-infused drinks. And now they won't have a way to market them, or they'll take a significant decline in their revenue. And that should impact that industry significantly over the coming months. And this was all due to, just to give you a bigger picture, the last minute provision in the bill would recriminalize many hemp-derived products, right? Reversing the legislation during the 2018 Farm Bill. And that Farm Bill allowed minimum amounts of THC from hemp exclusively, from the hemp plant, significant minimal amounts of THC Delta 9 or variants to be included in drinks that were marketed to the general population. Now, who this impacts, particularly bad would be for Minnesota's craft beer industry, which has been failing because people are consuming less alcohol overall in the States, and they've turned to cannabis-infused drinks as a lifeline. Now, this would be a poison pill, this new legalized bill that would make it illegal to sell THC-infused drinks would essentially be a poison pill for Minnesota's beer industry, or their craft beer industry. So that's very unfortunate for them and the rest of the industry for our country. People just won't be able to buy that stuff. And, it's becoming a common phenomenon where people are getting excited about finally drinking marijuana-infused products, cannabis-infused products. It's become popular in pop culture. There's songs about it, sipping on green, drinking pot. So this is really a step back in that direction towards legalization nationwide for marijuana and cannabis, which shouldn't be. I'm an avid proponent of legalizing marijuana. I think you just can't stop these kids from taking it. They already have access to vapes. Now it's just a matter of the substance they put in those vapes, and there's already a huge illegal back market for these things. You can buy vape pens for like $30 that have marijuana in it nowadays. So if they're going to get their hands on it, might as well find a way to tax it and potentially pay down. This could be another way, instead of the tariffs, to pay down our national debt. So that's something we should be looking into and not shying away from. The Chinese have reversed diabetes in a stunning using stem cells. Last year, cell biologist Deng Honghui and his team at Peking University in Beijing took cells from a woman with type 1 diabetes and reprogrammed them into blood sugar regulating cell clusters, islets, and injected them back into her abdomen. She didn't need insulin even a year later. Now, whether this is from also part because this woman had 2 liver transplants previously and had to take immunosuppressing drugs to accept those liver transplants. Now, could those also be responsible for it? They're definitely looking into all that stuff. And within the next few months, we might have some more clarity on that issue. And it is as they're talking about. This is huge. to cure type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And in my generation, the idea that it could potentially be solved and everyone can enjoy sweets without worrying about diabetes, which has killed so many people in our history, is definitely something I look forward to. It makes me glad to be young. Now, I'm not going to just start eating chocolate right away and just hoping that, because it might be expensive to get all these treatments right off the bat, but eventually economies of scale will take over and they'll be able to give us medicine like this, or give us some kind of procedure, access to a procedure, because the procedure actually only took about 30 minutes to complete. And a year later, the whole surgery took 30 minutes to complete. And a year later, she's been able to produce daily 98% of her insulin by herself now, with these stem cell induced islets, which regulate the insulin. So that's very fascinating and exciting for us as a species, that we're able to tackle this huge disease, this illness that's been afflicting not only America, because we have, I think maybe the highest population of obese people in the world, but all around the world. You hear evidences. I'm sure your family members have diabetes. Somebody has diabetes in your far family. But the fact that we can actually tackle that without all those things like, pricking your skin every day, it's debilitating. Every single day you have to track your sugar. You have to take medication for it, pills. Sometimes you have to check your blood pressure monitor. You have to prick yourself back in the day. And even though that might be less common today, those methods are still so expensive that they're not available for the average person. So to be able to eradicate diabetes, hats off to China for that. But, they're so high achieving, this country, China, that's not all the news we have. In fact, they've unveiled the first flying car factory in China. So the 120,000 square meter facility will focus on producing the flying module. It has a land module and a flying module. So its planned annual capacity is of 10,000 units with initial output of 5,000, and can produce one aircraft roughly 30 minutes when it's fully functional, according to the company. Fully operational in 2026, Xpeng or Xiaopeng A-Ridge's land aircraft carrier has received around 7,000 orders, according to Xpeng Motors. The customers include both corporate and individual buyers, with about 90% of the orders coming from within China and the rest overseas. Hello, everyone. Sorry for that. I had a visitor. But to continue, so, the customers, both corporate and individual buyers, with about 90% of the orders coming from within China, the rest overseas. So the cost for each one of those bad boys is roughly $281,000. Wow. Really makes you wrap your head around. If a new Tesla costs $40,000, that would cost about 4, 5, 6, 7 Teslas. Unbelievable. Yeah, in order to make your car fly. I mean, clearly, they're at the forefront of this, and it's not achieved economies of scale or anything like this. So it's hyper expensive. So only the richest of the rich will be able to afford this stuff. But even more exciting news is that they're not the only one. If you're worried about America's competitiveness, fear not, because more companies are entering the flying car sector, with even Tesla set to release a flying car concept within a couple of months. I mean, they've been hitting home runs nonstop with the Optimus robot, with the Cybercab, right? With their new chips that they're going to release in tangent or in collaboration with Intel. So that's going to be fascinating. They're working with multiple chip companies to develop their own in-house chip to power their robots. In fact, even Elon Musk says that the Teslas, the cars that he has, the Tesla cars, are in fact all pretty much robots on wheels. There's no differences. The actuators, the capacitors, everything in there is pretty much robot. All it needs is a face. I mean, the headlights and stuff give it a face, but you can understand that all you would need to do is give it some hands and feet, and your Tesla could essentially become your robot. And that's essentially what they're trying to do with Optimus, which is going to be the fastest company to $1 trillion or net worth or whatever they're looking at, like trillions of dollars of income based on the production, estimates. And for $30,000 a pop, it's very affordable. I mean, considering what it provides for you. And eventually, Elon Musk talks about how your personal home robot can take care of you better than your own doctor. They will be able to even perform surgeries at some point with upgrades with their intelligence and their functionalities. So that's extremely fascinating. Yeah, so Tesla's going to get in the game. Next thing I want to talk about is finally the Comet 3i Atlas. So what Atlas stands for, or 3i Atlas stands for, is the third interstellar object that's been classified and identified and confirmed by the experts, the astronomers, and all the different organizations that they come from. And the Atlas part stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, which is an observatory. And it automatically scans the whole sky several times every night looking for moving objects. So the comet actually is on an escape trajectory, and check this out. It's twice as fast as the previous interstellar objects. 2i Borisov and 1i Oumuamua. Interstellar visitor, it's appeared to have changed color for the second time and is the size apparently of Manhattan. Yeah, wrap your head around that one. Another team found that the comet has begun to show signs of non-gravitational acceleration as it approached perihelion, or the point closest to the sun, on October 29th. Non-gravitational acceleration, which means that it's not swinging by and being affected by the gravity of the sun. It's actually on an escape trajectory. So that could be a sign of technological origin, or alien super intelligent life controlling the comet or alien spacecraft. Unfortunately, it was behind our host star from Earth's perspective during its perihelion. So Harvard astronomist Avi Loeb has made kind of like a fact about this, suggesting that an alien spacecraft could be attempting to view our solar system or destroy the Earth by choosing to be out of our view at perihelion, right? When the light, when it's at this perihelion, the most light from the sun would be upon this object, so that it would be easy to view. But since it's behind the sun, we have no technology that can be able to observe it properly there during its perihelion. And so it could just be a disguise or a maneuver redirecting it at that point towards Earth. So we don't know. Or they could be releasing some kind of technology there. They could be up to something frightening, or, if they're learning about our civilization, they could be releasing probes or other gadgets there. That's what Avi Loeb seems to be insisting. Now, he does admit that they could very well just be another comet, but as we read deeper into it, he's saying all of these elements of its nature, would it would behoove us to essentially entertain the idea of an interstellar object being an alien spaceship for our benefit, so that we could take the necessary steps to defend ourselves if need be. So it's a fantastic thought experiment, and this man is so bright, and he's head of the Galileo Institute, which is focused on finding extraterrestrial life out there in our solar system and beyond. The team also found that the object had brightened significantly to around magnitude 9, making it brighter than many Herschel 400 galaxies. And it was visible with a small telescope or a decent pair of binoculars. They add that color photometry shows the comet to be distinctly bluer than the sun. However, as yet, there is not a satisfactory explanation for its rapid brightening, which is in far excess of the rate of brightening seen in more frequently seen Oort cloud comets. So it's a very unusual comet in terms of brightness. And as we'll find out later on, it's probably the oldest comet we've ever seen in our solar system based on computer simulated models of its age. Now, the James Webb Space Telescope is scheduled to make its next observations of 3I Atlas in December 2025 after the comet's perihelion. So it'll be exciting to see those pictures now from the most advanced space telescope we've ever sent out there and outer space. Computer model simulations suspect, like I said, it could be 3 billion years older than our solar system, making it the oldest comet ever seen. Loeb wrote that the object's trajectory offers various benefits to an extraterrestrial intelligence that may be using it to subtly spy on Earth. One such benefit is that 3I Atlas will make relatively close approaches to 3 planets, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, and the minimum distances between the object and these worlds could enable aliens to discreetly deploy gadgets there. So this is all Loeb. This idea is not mine originally. But he's making a case in point that's hard to refute. I mean, unless you're an astronomer who really sees these comets on a day-to-day basis, or, week to week, month to month, however often they find this sort of stuff in those telescopes. But just based on this guy who has access to telescopes, and he's at the Harvard Smithsonian Astrocenter Physics Center. So this guy knows what he's talking about. And he's saying it behooves us to actually take this thought experiment to the next level and prepare ourselves in case there might be an encounter with an alien civilization or an alien, spaceship. The fact that it's flying by Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, man, I mean, it's pretty much like a cosmic cruise for them. And they could be deploying gadgets, like he said, on Mars. It's going to reach less than 1 astronomical unit between Mars and less than 1 astronomical unit between Jupiter. That's an astronomical unit is basically the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So that's pretty close. If a spaceship did have the capacity to cross all those thousands of astronomical units to get here from the center of our Milky Way or wherever they came from, then they would have no problem actually speeding up and, landing on those planets, doing whatever they needed to do, sending a probe and, whatever gadgets they have to employ those to learn more or spy on our civilization. Not to mention that he said that, this is neither here nor there, but he said that its trajectory indicates that it would have had to start entering the perimeter of our solar system, of our local cosmic neighborhood, around 8,000 years ago, which is exactly when we started developing the ability to write down and jot down history and manifest it into the technology and the civilization we have today. So we started keeping records about 8,000 years ago, and that's precisely the time when 3I Atlas would have entered our solar neighborhood, and that's also very fascinating. Yeah, that little tidbit. I mean, it's hard to suggest or to get at what he's actually saying here, but that's just another element of what makes this so unique. You know what I mean? That's definitely an interesting fact. The fact that we could be being observed from 3I Atlas, if it is a spacecraft of alien origin, that it could be spying on us since our inception, many generations. Since our species initially began recording stuff, that signals to me that we're under watch, that there is, it makes me excited about the possibility that aliens are either growing us or there's a cosmic neighborhood waiting for us when we decide to finally make that Star Trek and journey into the cosmos and become members of interstellar community. 3i Atlas will also be hidden on the opposite side of the sun when it reaches the closest point to our home star in late October. So that's what I was talking about. So during its perihelion, it was hidden behind the star. And that's the closest it was ever been in late, I think it was October 29th, right? So this could be intentional, Avi Loeb writes, to avoid detailed observations from Earth-based telescopes when the object is brightest or when the gadgets are sent to Earth from that hidden vantage point. Listen to what this guy is saying, that he's saying that they could be deploying gadgets here even on Earth while hiding behind the sun. And that's a fascinating thought for alien hunters everywhere and people who are interested in the subject. So let me know in your comments below what you think. I mean, it's pretty exciting stuff. It's the oldest. I mean, there is a lot for the case, unless you're one of those hardcore physicists or astronomers who do this math, who the scientific community at writ large seems to refute the claim that it is of extraterrestrial origin. I mean, beyond the fact that it could just be a comet, because, everything that we've known about comets seems to be true for this. So why would it be otherwise? But like I said, it is highly unusual in terms of even how comets are classified, and the fact that there aren't many minerals or materials or objects that we haven't yet observed from its coma. So these things, and the dust, we should be able to observe. I mean, they did find nickel and cyanide and a bunch of other elements, but Avi Loeb thinks that there should be way more elements out there that we could identify that would signal it to be a comet along with the rest of them that they've studied over the years. And I find that to be highly fascinating, and I'm taking up the challenge from Avi Loeb, and I'm going to question the fact that whether 3i Atlas is a comet. And it brings me goosebumps just thinking about it, thinking that we're not alone, and wonder what our fascinating neighbors might be up to. But if, however, it turns out to just be another comet, I mean, very well, they could, an extraterrestrial civilization could figure out just exactly what it needs to do to remain invisible, just so that, because it is a prey or predator type scenario, they could be avoiding being seen by their predator or their prey, just so they can pounce on us and, manipulate us or do whatever they need to do if they're hostile. That it is a viable hypothesis is all I want to say regarding that. But moreover, if it isn't, then, I'm just going to be another low-key, not an astronomer, but an amateur astronomer. And I aspire to one day get a telescope so I can finally look at our solar system better. And I think that's something that everyone ought to do, because it's just exciting to see where we are in our stellar neighborhood, what things, how they impact us on a day-to-day basis, what our ancestors may have seen. And it gives us a better idea of our cultural cosmic history as humanity for our species. And I think we need to have that level of excitement and interest in this, just so we could be better cosmic citizens, I think. So yeah, that's all I have for this week. I'm sorry for missing a week or two, because, in fact, there hasn't been that much news that appealed to me, but I decided to make this one pretty decently long, just so, you guys can see what I'm interested in. I'd love to see all the comments about what you guys think about China and the developments that they've had, and especially about 3i Atlas, right? And whether you think it's an alien spacecraft or maybe not. But I'd definitely like to hear your comments in the comments below, so please leave those for me. Otherwise, it's been fascinating. Another week in the books for this podcast. I'm your host, Rudra Loka, signing off once again. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful October. Thank you very much.